What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. My name is Adam. I am your host. We are bringing on a very special guest, the champion, the winner of the StarStock football contest. We have Ducky Sports Cards. How are we doing today?
I'm amazing. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. I mean, it's wild, the story that you have with the contest, because you were the winner of the when you had to repost. So they had I think 11 people, and I'm not sure if someone had dropped out and that's why they brought somebody else in, but the 11th or the 12th spot was won by someone who reposted it, and you were the winner, and then you ended up going on to win the whole contest. So that's super cool.
Yeah, man, it was insane. I was completely grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you won a Patrick Mahomes PSA 10. So, I mean, that's got to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. I never thought in a million years that I would win a Patrick Mahomes rookie card PSA 10. I never thought that in a million years.
Yeah, that's wild. And I mean, maybe we'll get into a little bit later what you plan on doing with the card, because, I mean, that's like a ridiculous come up, like a free entry, and then you win like an $8,000, $10,000 card. It's absolutely insane. So we'll start out here. So at the beginning of the season, did you have like a strategy going in? Like what were your feelings kind of at the beginning of the season?
So towards the season, the two main sports I was knowledgeable about is basketball and football. And one of my main strategies is I had to write down a whole plan of this. It was either if I'm going to do quick flips or if I'm going to do long-term flips. And I came to a sense, it took me a while to come what I was going to pick, but I ended up doing quick flips. Now, what I mean by that is whoever was playing in the game, like next game, let's say it was the Chiefs versus the Giants, right? I would invest in a player who I think would go off, right? For example, let's say Tyreek Hill, right? That was my first ever flip that I've done as a quick flip. I bought it for $20. He ended up getting like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and I sold it for a $3 profit. So that was what I was doing with every single card. I was doing quick flips. There was a few players that I've done long-term, for example, the DK Metcalf, the PSA 9 that I bought, the Silver Prism. And that was a long-term that really helped me out because they ended up making the playoffs, and that's when it was bought. But majority, like my whole strategy was just to quick flips and, just try to get on top of the board.
Yeah, that's awesome. And actually, Tyreek Hill was the first card I think I bought as well. And I think the strategy that you talked about with the quick flipping of the players going into like some of the primetime games, that's exactly what I was thinking. But at the beginning of the season, we saw like some crazy expensive cards, and I'm not sure if that's a trend we're going to see going into next season as well. Cause I mean, I don't think anybody, everybody started out with $500. Like I know for sure I lost like almost $150. Did you like make money from it, or at least from the flipping in the contest? Like how much money did you end up making at the end? Did you end up knowing what the final total was?
Yeah. So I made around $500. So
you started with 500 and you got to 1,000.
No, okay. Let me rephrase that. So I started with 500 and I made an extra, at least, I'll say around $50 to $100.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So that's kind of the same experience I think that most people in the contest had.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's just because everybody bought a ton, because if you look at the week 1 standings, like everybody had like 10 to 15 purchases, and if you compare that to like what ended up happening at the end, like I said, I mean, I think I lost like $150, and I think I don't know exactly what happened. Like I think it was more people. This is like the first football season, and this was my thought process going into the contest was this is the first football season we've really seen, at least the beginning of football season, sports cards be what they are now. So I had the same exact mindset as you, where I was looking at the players that were going to be playing in these primetime games. And I just figured like a Tyreek Hill, for example, and I think the first flip I think was only like a few dollars, so probably like $2-3. Like same with you, but that my mindset going into that first week was like, I was just so excited too. That was kind of the other thing. I made a bunch of purchases. So for me, something that I did was I looked at like a strategy within fantasy football is the handcuff running back. So like the backup running back or backup wide receiver. That was something that I didn't really bet correctly on because I thought that for whatever reason, I thought Todd Gurley was going to not have maybe a great season. So I got a bunch of the backup running backs. So I think it was Brian. I don't remember their names. I think it was Brian Smith and like Mike Ito, I think was the two backup running backs. So I got some of their Prism and some of their Optic cards. That didn't exactly work out, but like throughout the season, did you find that like your strategy changed from like the beginning of the season and the middle of the season, or how did that go for you?
So I noticed it did kind of change. In the middle of the season, it started to get slow with me. I'm not sure if it did for you, but I've noticed where my quick flips, they were turning into like long-term flips, and I was like, oh God. So I needed to kind of switch up my strategy and try to do like invest in like known players, like the players that I think the players already go into the playoffs. Who I would invest in. I invested in, for example, Zach Moss, the running back for the Buffalo Bills. I invested in Justin Jefferson. So I was looking at players who potentially could go to the playoffs instead of doing quick flips because I wasn't really working out, and it was just a very slow process in the middle of the season. And a lot of players that were getting injured left and right. So that was just a big toss and turnaround, especially for the contestant Matthew Dellavedova. He invested heavily into Joe Burrow, and he got a torn ACL, and I think he got last place if I'm not mistaken. But that's what really set him back, and that's why I decided to switch it up because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. But yeah, like I said, I switched my strategy because it was just a very slow process, and I just started investing into players who are going to do very good in the playoffs or who might go off, and which ended up working. I bought like some Don Russ rated rookies of Justin Jefferson for like $2 and flipped it for like $4. Nothing big, but flips are flips. Money is money, and like I said, that was still helping me in the long run. So that was my strategy. That I ended up changing it up.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, middle of the season for me was because I actually had invested in Paris Campbell. I bought like 3 or 4 of his Prism cards. And like luckily, there were some like offers up right when he got injured, and I was monitoring it, and I had actually saw the injury, and like I was like, oh no, because I had literally just bought his cards like that week because I had listened to some fantasy podcasts, and the fantasy podcasts were all about like the players who were like undervalued in a sense from fantasy. So I was kind of looking at it the same way with sports cards, where I said like there's got to be some players that are going to pop off that that aren't like these top 10 running backs. And I think also, I mean, the injury to Saquon Barkley was probably pretty big. The injury to Christian McCaffrey was big. Like, and then Odell Beckham was another one. And I mean, I think that's sort of what happened with the NFL. Like, especially with those big injuries, like that's why I think we did see like a little bit of a decrease towards like the middle of the season. Cause like, for example, a player like Baker Mayfield, I've been kind of following his cards a lot recently. And like at the beginning of the season, those cards were like 250-ish for PSA 10. Middle of the season, they're around 120. And then now I think they're up around $300. So it's been a pretty crazy ride. And I think some of the injuries definitely had an effect on that. Also like the weird schedule with like the NBA and baseball all kind of starting at these weird times. I can imagine that probably had a little bit to do with it. So for you, so you were saying you were mainly into football, and then what was the other sport that you said you were into? Basketball. So with StarStock, is StarStock something that you had used in the past that you knew about, or was this like a new platform that you saw and you entered the contest and then you win and you get into the contest and now you're kind of on the platform?
So I used StarStock around when I was starting getting into sport cards. I recently got into sport cards around March or April, and I found out by StarStock I think early June. And I noticed, it was just completely new to me. Like I said, I was comparing now to before, and it's just not the same, right? Because before, like the website was just completely different compared to now. Now they added like sealed wax, they added like just info about players and stuff, now upcoming matches. But like I ended up knowing about StarStock around June, and I got familiar with it. I ended up, buying like basketball cards and stuff. And I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. I bought like a John Collins basketball rookie card, and I bought it for like $2, StarStock B, and then I sold it like the next day for like $3. It comes to find out that card is worth like $30 to $40 right now. So, I was just mad. I was looking at that the other day, and it's crazy how far StarStock has become. It's like very, very cool that everyone's getting onto it. You have Kevin Durant using it now. You just have a whole bunch of people using it, and it's just very amazing to use. So I got into it around June.
Yeah, I mean, the platform it's the user interface is really great, which is something that, like, as a content creator and someone who uses the internet a ton, like, that's something that's always a big deal to me.
Exactly.
I've worked with them a little bit in the past, so like I know most of the people over there. They're super nice, and I mean, everything that they're doing, like with even their content, I think they've done pretty well with the content where
amazing.
they kind of they highlight a lot of like some of the cards that are up, and I think it's a really great resource. I think I also really like about the platform is that it's mainly just rookie cards, and I think that's for new people getting in. Like for you specifically, you said you got in probably around like March, April-ish. Like, did you have a background in sports cards, or was it more of just like this was something that you were getting into?
So when COVID first started happening, when lockdown started happening in New York, I didn't have a job. I didn't, I was unmotivated to do things, and I was on YouTube one day and I saw Gary V. And Gary V he's always talking about sports cards. And I noticed that I loved basketball and I know sports, so why not do something that's fun and I can make money with? So I started watching a whole bunch of Gary V videos of him, going to garage sales, or then him talking about sports cards, and that's what motivated me to do sports cards is Gary V. And I had no background in sports cards whatsoever. When I was younger, maybe I collected a few Pokemon cards here and there, but my dad, Pokemon is just amazing. My dad, he invested into sport cards like a long time ago when he was a teenager as well. But like I said, I never had a background with it. But Gary V really put me onto it, and it was just one of the best things I could ever ask for. So
yeah, totally. And I mean, now you're the winner of a PSA 10 Patrick Mahomes rookie card. So I'm sure that probably was pretty nice. I was actually fairly surprised. And I mean, I talked a little bit about the contest on a previous episode, but for me, I mean, I was in, I think, 11th place, I think, in week 15, and then going into, or maybe not, I think I was 9th place in week 10, and then week 12, I think I was still in that area. And I made a bunch of sales at the end, which, I mean, that's what ended up helping me. So when those final standings came out, I was honestly, I was pretty shocked because I did make those sales at the end, and I think that's what ended up saving me. Which I mean, I won a Christian McCaffrey PSA 10, which is pretty cool as well. I mean, I'm excited to get that in. I mean, once he's back from the injury, I'm sure that card probably is going to have a lot more value. Like,
of course,
that's where I saw, and I've been doing kind of sports cards since like 2018 ish.
Okay, that's dope. Okay.
Yeah, one thing that I kind of thought was going to happen this year was that the position players were going to kind of close the gap between quarterbacks, and it didn't. It happened in a sense that like the whole market kind of saw a little bit of an increase depending on kind of which cards or which market the players were in. But it definitely was. I mean, it was cool to be in that contest. Like, so when you first get the notification that StarStock you're in it, like what's your first thought? Like, you're looking at the list, like, because that's what I did when so Mike from StarStock, he reached out to me and he was just like, yeah, we're doing this contest. Matthew Berry from ESPN is in it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. Like, so for you, like, what was that moment like for you when you get the message that you won?
Man, like I said, I didn't know what was happening. I just saw a message saying congrats, and it was like, I don't know what's happening. I was telling everyone like I just won something. I don't even know what I won. And it comes to find out like, oh, you won a spot in the SIFC. I was like, what is that? I didn't even know what that was. And I started getting emails. Oh, we're gonna fund up your account with $500. This, that. I was like, what? $500? They were like saying you get to keep the money, you get to keep the cards. I was like, what is happening? And the list came out, and I saw Matthew Dellavedova. I saw Matthew Berry. I just saw a whole bunch of people. I saw Seablez. I was just like, oh my god, like what is happening? I have a 20-year veteran of sports cards, and they think I'm gonna win. It was just like, I was like, there's no point of even trying this. Like, I already know I was gonna lose. And that's why, like, I think it was around like week 4, like week 5, I was just like in like 10th place. And I was just like, I was debating if I should give up or not. Like, I was just like,
and during that time, I was actually in the same place because literally I had lost so much money. Like I think I lost like half of the money that because I think I still had probably like $200 left over before. But then I had all the cards, but like literally because another player that I bought was Carson Wentz. So that was like one that I was like Carson Wentz and then Miles Sanders from Philly. So I was like, oh yeah, I mean they're gonna have some bounce back season. It's gonna be great, and that totally didn't happen. And then I sold them for like I think I bought like an optic Carson Wentz for like $50, and I think I sold it for like 30. So I was like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how to come back from this. Like what? Because in my head, I was like, I'm going to have to buy some like cheap cards and they're going to have to like triple. And I was like, is that even possible? Like, am I going to be able to do that? Yeah. So it was, like I said, the contest obviously for both of us ended up working out pretty well. So for you, did you have any specific cards that you remember buying that maybe either you were skeptical about or like what was your favorite play that you made? Like what was the favorite flip that you ended up making?
So my favorite and best flip of that whole contest was my DK Metcalf. What I noticed was I bought mainly Prism because I'm a big fan of Prism. You know, it has a lot of ceiling to the cards, and it's just a very beautiful design, especially optic. But my main focus was Prism. I ended up buying my Prism, the DK Metcalf PSA 9, for around $185, and I noticed on eBay that it was going for way more. It was going for like $300, and I was like, whoa, okay, buy it, right? Because I knew he's a very talented wide receiver. He's very tall, and I just know the type of player he was. He's very good. So I bought the card for 185, and like I said, I was just waiting, and a lot of people like to lowball. And I got offers for $70, $80, and I was gonna be dumb and go for it, but I didn't bite it, thank God. But when the Seahawks ended up making the playoffs, I ended up selling the card for $300, and that was the best feeling ever. Yeah, it was just like that was probably one of my biggest flips I've done, and I didn't really have any like a lot of knowledge going into football, but I started, looking up stats. I started watching highlights, and I started put the work in. And I know, there's going to be a little road bumps in the contest, but I know that I would come right back. But I would say the DK Metcalf was probably the biggest and best flip I've ever done on StarStock.
Yeah, I mean that's like being down 15 at halftime in a basketball game, and it's like then you hit the shot at the buzzer, and it's like you win. That's exactly
the game winner.
Yeah, that's super. that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have like do you play fantasy sports at all?
I used to. I'm not really big into it. A lot of people say, oh, would you like to? I end up joining, but I don't. I play a lot of basketball, but sometimes I play football. But yeah.
Yeah, kind of same with me. I mean, I used to be into fantasy football a lot more, and then kind of fell off. I do some daily fantasy here and there, but nothing super crazy. So so you said you're from New York?
Yeah, I'm from New York, and I was born in New York.
So are you a Jets or a Giants fan?
Man, I'm a Giants fan.
Giants fan. I mean, hey, look. So I'm from outside. I live outside of Boston now. I'm originally from Massachusetts, so I despise the Giants at times. But with like Barkley and Daniel Jones, I found myself with sports cards definitely rooting for the younger players a lot more than I used to, and even if they're on a team that caused me a lot of pain in the past, like. Barkley is definitely somebody that I like. I'll just share a quick story. So in college, when I was a freshman, my roommate was a Giants fan, which that ended up being the 18-0 season. The 18-0 loss. So, or no, actually, no, sorry, that was it was the second Super Bowl that the Giants won. So it was basically just months of coming back into the dorms and either seeing him watching the championship DVD or seeing him sit there in his like championship hat and like having his like flag that he bought up on the wall and just sitting there being like, I can't believe this happened. I mean, the Patriots ended up winning the Super Bowl a couple years later, so it wasn't it helped a little bit, but it's just when stuff like that happens, it's super funny. So other than being a Giants fan, like what are the other teams that you're a fan of? Yankees, obviously.
Yeah, I like the Giants, love the Yankees, and I'm a very big Knicks fan. Like I said, Knicks, they haven't been good like these past years, but now they're starting to beat like the pretty good teams. So, like I said, I'm not saying they're gonna go far, but it's happy as a Knicks fan to see, the Knicks actually doing something and them playing well on the floor and stuff. So, those are the three teams. I don't really like the Mets. They're all right. I can never. I just like the Yankees. Love Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and all of them. Jets, I hate. They're terrible. Always will be a Giants fan, even though they're not great either. And the Nets, like I said, Kyrie and Kevin Durant should have went to the Knicks. So I despise them. So it's Knicks, Yankees, and Giants all day.
Yeah, Knicks have definitely had some blunders in the past few seasons.
Yeah.
I don't use, like, being a Boston fan, it's hard not to laugh when stuff like that happens. Like, I just
Exactly.
remember seeing the like photoshops of like Zion,
Yep.
KD and Kyrie all being there,
Yeah.
and then literally not one of them when I was like, I mean, it's one of the funnier, obviously not being, it's probably pretty devastating for a fan, but like it's one of the funnier kind of moments in sports if you're asking me. So you're fairly new into sports cards. Do you have any cards that so I'll ask you the one question and then we'll ask this question first. So like, what do you, other than StarStock, like what's kind of what do you do in sports cards? Because I mean, there's so many different things that you can do, whether it's opening boxes, investing, buying. So like, what's kind of your foray? I don't know if that's the word, but like, what do you do kind of with sports cards other than StarStock?
So with sports cards, I own a Discord server called Card Club with around 1,300 members, and basically, I literally just manage the server. I'm the owner of it, and basically, we just build a community and we just talk about sports cards. And I talk to people to give them investment advices, especially on StarStock. But what I do is there's this thing called fire sales. And what I do with these is, people post a card for like $5 and it goes for like $7 or $9. I buy it for like $3, right? And I end up flipping it, right? So buy a card for $2, it goes for 10, I'll sell it for 10, right? And that's profit right there. So what I do mainly is just I find steals that I can, the best I can find, and I just flip them. That's literally all I do. And what I mainly been doing to make a lot of profit is, buy a good condition card, like let's say a Kyler Murray Prism rookie card, and I'll buy it for like, I don't know how much they're going for. I think like 70 or 60 right now. And send it to PSA, sell it as a PSA 10, and just get that money, then flip into a bigger person, and then send that to PSA, and they just keep doing. It's like a whole process that I do. So that's all I do.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I think everybody has a different process. And that's one thing that I actually really like about sports cards. And that's why I like doing these interviews, because I think everybody's process is different. And I think there's so many different ways that people can make money, or they can just have fun with the hobby. So it's always fun to kind of get information and talk to people that are maybe even have difference of opinions than I do. So, I mean, that's always a ton of fun. So what would you say is like you're still, like you said, sort of new, but like, what would you say is like your dream card if you had like one card to buy that you wanted to get?
Whew, that's a hard question. I have two actually. One would be I love Luka, so I would say I would love a Luka silver Prism rookie card. I would love that, or maybe his optic auto or something. But one of my dream cards was the Patrick Mahomes rookie card, PSA 10, believe it or not. And that's why when I found out that I won, I just started screaming on top of my lungs, and everyone thought I was crazy. I went into my girlfriend's car and I just started going berserk. I was like, oh my God. Because, that was one of the dream cards that will be worth a lot, in my opinion, if I hold it. But like I said, the Patrick Mahomes and the Luka are definitely my two favorite cards. But the Patrick Mahomes, it was just like a dream come true, like I said. So Patrick Mahomes is like one of my favorite dream cards that I ever had.
Yeah, it's so I mean, to win the contest is like so awesome. And I'm so happy that, obviously we're speaking now. You seem like a really great person. So like, I'm glad that, it's going to kind of someone who literally like you just said, that was one of your dream cards. So it's like, it's cool to see that. I mean, that's going to be really cool. I don't think they've contacted anybody about when they're going to be sending the cards, but it still is like, it's like super, like I said, it's so awesome to kind of see that the card is going to someone who like, actually put thought behind it, was like, this is one of the dream cards that I want. And I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty iconic card. I mean, with the 2017 class, because it had like the Prism rookies were actually the like base rookies, but they were short printed, and it was a whole thing until they went into 2018. So coming up into this NFL and NFL playoffs and all that stuff. So who do you think is going to, and this will be the last question, and then we'll kind of wrap things up here, but who do you think is going to, what do you think the Super Bowl matchup is going to be? And then who do you think is going to eventually win it all?
Oof. Okay. So I think the Chiefs are going to go to the Super Bowl again. Okay. I think the Bills have a chance of going to the Super Bowl. That's my opinion. I think they're a very good team, especially the way Josh Allen has been playing. He's a very accurate quarterback. And I'm heavily invested in Josh Allen too, so that's why I'm kind of biased about it. But like I said, Josh Allen, whether you like the Bills or not, people know that he's a very good and accurate quarterback. Like I said, my matchup that I think is going to the Super Bowl is the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And the person I would think that would be taking it is obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have a lot of talent.
You mean Bills and Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? Who do you think is going to go from the NFC? So there's I think the Packers, Saints, Buccaneers, and Rams. So the 4 teams in the NFC. So I also think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be Bills, Chiefs in the AFC. And then out of the NFC, who are you rooting for there?
Oh man, that's hard. I like the Saints and the Buccaneers too. Like I said, I don't really have an opinion on that because it's just hard to answer. But my favorite would be the Saints. I like the Saints. The Buccaneers, I like them too. They have Tom Brady, but I just don't think they're gonna get that far, and I don't think they're gonna go into the Super Bowl. Or I just think the Saints have a very good chance of just beating everybody in that whole side. So I think it will be the Saints versus the Chiefs, to be honest with you.
That would be a great matchup. And I think, honestly, other than the Chiefs, I feel like the rest of the field is very wide open when it comes to other teams that could make it. Like if the Browns somehow could beat the Chiefs, like then I think it literally is anybody. It's anybody's game at that point. Like I think anybody could win. I think that would be really cool. I'm sort of rooting for Baker just because I think that would be just a wild scene, like with Cleveland winning it all and all that. So I mean, that would be super cool. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. So let the audience know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Ducky Sports Cards. You guys can also find me on. Well, I'm gonna be making a YouTube, but that's the only thing you can find me at right now is Ducky Sport Cards, and just send me a follow, and that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. Perfect. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I love the way you talk. I love, like I said, I was watching you from the sidelines, your podcast and, you interviewing pretty much different people. For example, you just had a guy, I forgot his name. It was the most recent one. Asking him about TikTok, I think, or something like that.
Conrad, yeah. Super cool guy.
Yeah, exactly. I like the way you speak. You're very professional. Like I said, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's nothing but a blessing. And like I said, you seem like a great guy, and I wish nothing for the best for you. So
absolutely,
thank you.
You too. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.